What's up, guys? VitalSyntax here, and I've got some last-minute information for Battlefield 4 right before Gamescom starts, which is this upcoming week. So there'll be a lot of new information coming out of that event, and I'll, of course, keep you guys updated here on YouTube. But there was a new post on EA's website that talked about some of the class changes and kind of balancing that they've done for Battlefield 4, as well as talking about the changes in specific to Suppression, as well as some new field upgrade path things that they've worked on. So I'm going to talk about some of this stuff, and of course, if you want to read through the full post on EA's website, there'll be a link in the description. So the first thing they went over was the modifications and the balancing that they've done to each of the kits. So we're going to talk about the Engineer, the Sport, Recon, and Assault. So starting with the Engineer, they've increased the damage of rocket-propelled grenades or RPGs, or those free-fire rockets, and they've decreased the damage of the kind of smarter weapons, the things that lock on, like the Javelin missiles, the MBT Law, which is going to be returning for Battlefield 4, as well as the FGM-172 SRAW, which is a wire-guided missile allowing you to control the missile mid-flight, which is pretty cool. They've also revamped the vehicle disabled system and how that works. I don't know exactly what the details are on that, but it has been changed quite a bit from Battlefield 3. Next, with the support class, we have confirmation that C4 is still with the C4 or with the support class. We saw it was going to be coming to Recon. We weren't really sure if they were removing it completely from support, but it is going to be available to the support players, as well as Claymores and the XM25 grenade launcher. There's also going to be a remote mortar, which is going to be somewhat similar to the Recon's mortar strike that you had in Battlefield Bad Company 2. So you don't actually have to set down a deployable stationary mortar like you had in Battlefield 3. You can move around and use binoculars to call it in on a certain position, which is much, much better. It's actually going to make the mortars somewhat useful again. And then next we have the Recon class. The biggest thing they've changed is they're moving more towards mobility. They're trying to allow the Recon class to be used in a more aggressive role, maybe even not using a bolt action rifle, maybe using a carbine, now that those are all class weapons. Now you will have access to C4 as well as Claymores, a portable laser designator, so you no longer have to set down the laser designator that we had in Battlefield 3 that's stationary. You can actually move around with it, which is once again a focus on making this class a little bit more mobile. There's also the motion sensors. Now you can throw those. Now you also have the MAV and the tugs and radio beacons. So if you want to have the traditional or what we had in Battlefield 3 for radar spotting with the tugs or the MAV, you can use that as well. But motion sensors are going to allow you to be a much more mobile soldier. Obviously, those don't last forever, whereas a tugs or a MAV do until they're destroyed. So there's ups and downsides of each. There's also the radio beacon, as well as the ability to zero in your sights with a sniper scope. Going to hopefully allow just buffs in general to the Recon class. And lastly, we have the Assault kit. So they haven't changed a ton of stuff here, but mostly what they've done is they've slightly altered how the defibrillators work, adding a charge delay, and there's actually a perk or a field upgrade that you can get that's going to increase that or decrease the amount of time that it takes to charge your paddles. But also what they've done is they added the new first aid pack on top of the med box, and what that does, you can throw it onto one individual soldier and it'll heal him over time, and it kind of attaches to him so he can be mobile while he's healing himself. Now you also have the new flashbang 44mm grenade attachment for the underslung grenade launcher if you want to use that as well. Now let's talk a bit about suppression. This is one of the most hotly debated topics for Battlefield. And I think that what they did is a perfect solution that pleases both the people that like the concept of suppression and the gameplay roles that it fits into, but also the people that don't like it because it reduces some of the gun skill required and adds things like bullet deviation. So what they've done is light machine guns now do more suppression effect than what they did in Battlefield 3, and every other weapon does less suppression effect than what it was in Battlefield 3. On top of that, all close range suppression has been significantly decreased. So really suppression is only a medium and long range tool. If you're up close, you're not going to have to deal too much with suppression. And on top of that, they've removed the accuracy penalty or the bullet deviation penalty that we had in Battlefield 3 and replaced it with a sway effect. similar to what you would see on like a sniper scope when you're looking through a big optic like that. It kind of sways back and forth and you have to hold your breath. Now, there's not going to be obviously the option to hold your breath while you're being suppressed, but you will have a little bit of a swaying effect. But it essentially allows you to compensate for that. And since you don't have bullet deviation, it's I think a perfect mix of both keeping the concept in the game, but also removing some of the random just kind of spray and pray elements that we had in Battlefield 3 when both players are just suppressed. And it's not really about who can aim better. It's mostly just about luck. And lastly, I wanted to talk about field upgrades, which I've talked quite extensively about in previous videos, but I wanted to talk about the paths that they have set up. So there's essentially 2 universal paths of field upgrades that you can get, and there's 2 specific to each class. So the 2 universal ones are offensive and defensive. So the offensive progression of specializations is sprint, ammo, nades, and reduced fall, and the defensive universal path is armor, cover, flak, and quick regen. So sprint is going to have you move faster while sprinting. Ammo is going to give you more ammo. Nades is going to give you more nades. Reduced fall, I mean, those are kind of self-explanatory. But armor, this is a new one. This essentially increases your health or the amount of damage that you can take from shots in the chest, but they don't increase it anywhere else. You also have cover, which is going to reduce the effect of suppression, flak, reduce the effect of grenades or explosive, and quick regen, which is going to increase or decrease the delay of your health regenerating. Now, on top of those 2 universal specialization paths, there's also the 2 specific to each class, and the 2 they covered were the assault and the engineer. So the assault can either choose to be a combat medic or a grenadier, and the engineer can either focus on being a mechanic or being an anti-tank soldier. And obviously each one of those roles is going to give you specializations in a progression or in a path that's going to be, you know, beneficial to your player. Now, unlike Battlefield 3 where you had squad specializations where you could get squad ammo and everybody in your squad would get extra ammo, these progressions are individual for each soldier in the squad. They don't, you know, carry over to other people that are in your squad, and each player chooses their own path, their own progression, depending on what class they're playing as, obviously, because each class has, you know, a couple different options available to them. And if you're confused and don't know what I'm talking about with this whole field upgrades, I'll put a link in the video description to another video that I did that kind of talked about exactly how the field upgrades work, how you get them, and how exactly they're different from Battlefield 3's suppression, or not suppression, Battlefield 3's specializations, because they're fairly similar, but they're just kind of moved around a little bit. So anyway, that wraps up the latest Battlefield 4 news. Just before Gamescom starts up here later on in the week, and I'll make sure to keep you guys once again updated with all the information and any gameplay or anything that comes out of that event as well. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to leave a like or a favorite, and if you're new around here, feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.